Kimmy, I have been going to work with no panic attacks since doing the regulation tools. I'm so glad. I'm so happy. Like, that's the whole point of the regulation tools, right? Because once you start teaching your nervous system that you're safe, there's there's no need to go into fight or flight anymore because you're actually safe. So I'm actually so proud of you for being able to go to work with no panic attacks just by doing the regulation tools. For most people, they need like regulation tools mixed with something else. But the fact that just regulation tools were to help you is amazing. And if those of you guys who don't do the regulation tools, do that. Okay, Riley, hi, how are you? I'm good, Riley. How are you, man? All right, Red Yeso. Hi, I have anxiety and feeling unreal, right? So I'm guessing by unreal, you're probably referring to how you feel disassociated, or you might have depersonalization, derealization. So just to give you a bit of a background of why that is happening, right? So as a protective mechanism, your brain will disassociate from your experience if it is uncomfortable. It thinks that's the best way to deal with it. When that happens, you feel less in touch with the present moment. So guess what the solution to that is, right? Getting in touch with the present moment. Now, some ways you can do that. Take a cold shower. Use ice to rub between your hands, right? That makes your body more aware to the present moment, that cold temperature. That's one way. The second way is noticing your breath because you're breathing all the time, right? Thank you for the likes, Shazza. I love you. All right, because you're breathing all the time, notice your breath. Notice the weight of your body. We're sitting here. Like gravity is this big force that's pushing you here. Notice your feet on the ground. Notice what you're seeing in every moment. Notice what you're hearing in every moment. When you bring yourself back to the actual reality, then your nervous system will stop disassociating. Okay. Kimmy, thank you, Gabe, and exposure therapy. Yes. So to me, there's really four fundamental things you need if you want to heal anxiety, right? You need exposure therapy, so you start doing the things that you're afraid to do. You need some sort of regulation tool and nervous system practice, whether that's with like meditation, regulation tools, yoga, whatever it is. You usually need something to help you be more present. The third thing is accountability, right? So I can tell you go do the regulation tools. I can tell you go do exposure therapy, but you'll only do it if you actually have someone, holding you accountable. Like if I were to say to you, if you don't go and do your exposure therapy today, like I was gonna kidnap your entire family, you'd be more likely to do the exposure therapy because you don't want your family to be kidnapped, right? It's the same with your own body and your healing. You have to take action. All right, pink bow tie. How much time should we do exercises for the regulation? So if you're referring to the specific nervous system regulation tools, each regulation technique takes like a minute or so, right? Just a minute. And that's why I recommend, like Kimmy said before, do it morning, afternoon, evening, but also whenever you notice yourself being in fight or flight. Because the first stage really of being more present is to start noticing your symptoms and as your symptoms happen. So I know it can feel like you feel normal, and then in a flash it's like, you're having a panic attack, you're getting dizziness, blurriness, heart palpitations and all this stuff. Usually because your perception of time is slowed, it feels, or is quickened, it feels like everything's happening so fast. But if you're actually mindful, there's some sign that might be subtle, but there's signs of your body going into fight or flight. And what you want to do is when you notice those signs, whether it's you start noticing one part of your body gets tense, or you start noticing your breath quicken, you should do the regulation tool then, because that's when it'll become most effective, as opposed to when you're like full blown in the middle of a panic attack, for example. And if you are in a panic attack, practice somatic shaking. Okay, Red Yasuo. I miss my old me. So this is something I hear quite often where everyone's like, I want to become like my old self again. I want to do things how I used to do, without fear, without being anxious, right? So my suggestion with this is the old you is gone, and that's okay. You're gonna use this anxiety and the thing that's happening to you to create an even better version of yourself that's even better than the old you. That's the way I like to think of it. Like, whatever I was doing before, it clearly wasn't working, or it's not sustainable. Otherwise, I never would have had anxiety. Maybe now that you have more self-awareness of your habits and your time, you can use it to become a better version of yourself. So don't look back, focus on the present, focus on where you want to go. Okay. It's not, if you have feeling unreal is normal. If you are constantly in fight or flight and your brain disassociates, it can be normal, like where you feel kind of out of your body. Not that it's normal as in that's healthy, but like normal as in it's a common symptom. Right. I don't know what your name is, so I'm just gonna ask the question. What's the first thing you did to heal anxiety? Or what's the first thing you did to heal from anxiety? So I did loads of things. I pretty much did trial and error for years. But I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were you, what should be the first thing to do. Right. The first thing I'd want to do is break it down into your habits. When you wake up in the morning, go for a walk for 5, 10, 15 minutes, right? You want to start regulating your circadian rhythm and your natural nervous system, mechanisms in your body. The second thing I would do is I would practice a regulation tool every single day. The third thing I would do is I would start building some sort of mindfulness practice. So whether that's meditation, yoga, start building something where you're actually aware of your thoughts and your body. The fourth thing I would do is some sort of resistance training, because you want to increase your body's ability to deal with stress. Because remember, anxiety isn't bad, right? Stress isn't bad, because stress actually helps loads of things. It helps actually fight inflammation. It helps, increase your patience. It helps with loads of things. What's bad is your body's inability to deal with stress. So resistance training like sprints, weightlifting, those things are helpful. Now, the fifth and sixth thing that I would recommend is be mindful of your relationships. So like, do you have healthy relationships, work, social, romantic, family and friends? Social connection matters in your nervous system. And the other thing is sleep. I would fix my sleep. Do all those things one by one to not overwhelm yourself. And then once you can do that as a foundation, focus on exposure therapy. Focus on adding more habits that serve your nervous system. Forrest, good. I've been going to the gym and I'm doing exposure therapy and I'm feeling a bit better. Good, because when you put action and you put action consistently, guess what happens? You start feeling better. Okay, what works for me in terms of regulation? For me, the best thing I do the first time I notice my nervous system in fight or flight, or I notice a physical symptom, is I notice my breath, right? And I learn to notice my breath as it is. I don't try and change the breath. I don't try and control the breath, because the breath is the first thing that changes when your nervous system goes into fight or flight and you start feeling anxious. So I start noticing my breath as it is, right? And usually when I notice my breath as it is, me at the stage where I'm at now, that's enough to usually put me out of fight or flight, right? But for you guys, what I would do is, when you know, in terms of regulation, what you should do to regulate yourself, the things I said before, but real-time things. So whenever you're actually in fight or flight, pause, slow down your body. If you're eating, slow it down. If you're walking, slow it down. Just bring a bit of mindfulness to your body, and then very gently notice your breath. Just do that for a few breaths, and that's enough to keep me out of fight or flight. Kimmy, I love your post to Everything Anxious. Thank you. Leanne, did you ever get an MRI, etc.? So I'll tell you guys a story, right? Whenever I was dealing with this, I flew 14 hours to another country to get all these expensive tests done, including MRI, including CT scans, including colonoscopies, for God's sake. I had people even check what's inside my nose with like a camera. Like, I had every test done. I spent a lot of money on this just to like figure out what is wrong with me. And it's anxiety. I know your anxiety makes you feel like you have some sort of other health issue, that you should get another test, and there must be a logical explanation for it. But no, it's just your anxiety, right? Provided you already got a health test. Hi Gabe, how are you? I was wondering what's your story with anxiety and self-esteem. So obviously people with anxiety, we tend to suffer with low self-esteem, right? And a lot of people with anxiety tend to suffer with shame, right? They feel like they are bad. So the thing that really helped my anxiety, so for me it was like, I have health issues, other people don't have health issues, I have all these racing thoughts that I'm not good enough, I'm just constantly comparing myself. So what I did to heal that was A, mindfulness of those limiting beliefs, B, self-compassion through a self-compassion meditation course called Metta. I even made my own self-compassion meditation course for free. It's in my bio if you guys want to try it. Bailey, bro, what is your opinion on the West using certain class A drugs when using in therapy for healing? So very good question. So if you, for example, when I have a law degree, which a lot of people don't know, and I did 2 dissertations, research papers on medical cannabis and psychedelics for the use of therapeutic use, so for mental health pretty much. So for example, psilocybin has been tested vigorously for anxiety and depression, and it was very, very useful, for example, right? Pure MDMA, so MDMA not mixed with any other substances, showed to be very effective for treating PTSD, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Cannabis is a little like cannabis, right? So we know it's proven to help with seizures. We know it helps with chronic pain. For some individuals, it works really well with even ADHD and concentration. The only thing is, so if your brain is developing, cannabis, especially if you're male, cannabis can be harmful for the developing male because it affects basically neural pathways that are associated with organizing and emotional reactivity, right? So if you're young, I would avoid cannabis. That's just my opinion. And in terms of psychedelics, I would suggest that, obviously I'm not going to promote drugs. I'll probably get my TikTok banned. But if you live in a country where it's legal, I know that it's been shown to be helpful. For example, studies were done on psilocybin where they blindfolded the person, and just for that one trip, it helped their anxiety and depression for years after that. Okay. Mama's Schmans. I have been stuck in freeze for a year. So if you're in freeze, what you want to do is you want to start learning how to be present, right? So things to help you get out of freeze. Somatic shaking. Go look up at a YouTube video that shows how to do it. Basically, put on your favorite song and you shake your body. It kind of releases that stored up tension and stress. B, right? Are you sleeping? Because when you're freeze, you want to rest as much as you can from stress, especially if you're in freeze because your body's pretty much shutting down. B, try a regulation tool. Somatic shaking is a regulation tool as well, but there's a regulation tool. I don't know what the exact name is, but you basically get your 2 hands, you make it into a fist, and then you kind of just like punch your chest, like firmly, not trying to hurt yourself. And then you kind of just go, kind of make humming sounds. And that really helps with freeze. Kimmy, guys, it really works. Yeah, thank you. And it does work, right? Like, just try regulation tools if you don't believe me. Okay, more questions. Amazing. Okay, Jen Martinez. My anxiety makes me feel dizzy. Any advice? Yes. So dizziness, vision changes, common symptom. What I would suggest is focus on your balance, right? So your body has something called the vestibular system where it senses where you are in the world through things like your jaw, through things like your feet, through things like your peripheral vision, right? So whenever you go out of balance, your body also goes into fight or flight, which explains why you're dizzy. So one thing I would do is practice balance, right? Practice when you're walking, just balancing your body. Find that natural balance with curiosity. Make sure you're breathing with your diaphragm so you don't start breathing from your chest and your neck and start losing your balance. The third thing would be mindful of your neck, right? So your neck, especially your suboccipital, which is like the back of the neck, that's connected to a lot of conditions like tinnitus, dizziness, vertigo, eustachian tube problems, which are like these tubes in your ears, right? So practice that. Practice posture, diaphragmatic breathing, practice neck exercises, practice stretching your suboccipital. do this, like for your temple, and so that helps. Mama Schmantz at Kimmy 1979. What does? I believe she's referring to the regulation tools. Can you tell me that it'll get better? I feel hopeless. Yeah, it'll get better. It'll get better. So, someone asked me this, like, will I feel better, right? And I basically answered it by saying, he who believes he can and he who believes he can't are both right. Okay? So if you believe that you won't get better and you're stuck with this anxiety for the rest of your life, you will be stuck with this anxiety for the rest of your life. But if you believe that you will get better, which is half the battle won, and you mix that with actions like, I'm going to start doing regulation drills, I'm going to start meditation, I'm going to start weightlifting, I'm going to start prioritizing my sleep, I'm going to start doing my exposure therapy, and you stay consistent with those daily inputs, you will feel better, because it will be unreasonable for you not to feel better. All right, key, hear me out. Every day feels like a dream. When I shower, when I drive, my family growing. Yeah, sounds like DPDR. Kimmy, nervous system regulation tools 3 times a day and exposure therapy works. I agree, it 100% works. And I'm glad someone like Kimmy, who is new to this, tried it and is working. Sam Scandi, how to get rid of hypersensitivity and hyper-awareness after panic attack. It's very annoying. So the thing is, right, even after your panic attack, your body's still kind of in fight or flight. And when your body's in fight or flight, what it's basically doing is it's scanning the environment for dangers, right? It's scanning wherever you're in, whatever room you're in, whether you're outside, it's scanning for threats. And it's gonna, every new symptom you get in your body or sensation, it's gonna try and perceive as a threat. So after you have a panic attack, what I would suggest doing is do a regulation tool, right? Do 2-4-7 breathing and box breathing with the echo breathing. Do something like that. Notice your breath, right? You want to get your nervous system out of fight or flight. And the second thing is mindfulness, to actually notice when you're being hypersensitive, when you're hyper-focusing on thoughts. And when you can actually notice that without noticing it after it's happened and being like, oh, I did it again, or I'm still doing it again. That is the first step to noticing it. First step is always awareness. Key. I get the worst anxiety ever, and I feel every day like I'm just gonna black out, and I underperform. Okay. I know that's not a question, but my advice to you would be do everything I just said. Regulation till 3 times a day, exposure therapy, make a recovery plan for yourself. Third thing would be build one healthy habit for your nervous system at a time. I would suggest, what is the constraint? So if you're, for example, if you're trying to eat healthy, right, and you've stopped eating pizza, but you still drink every day, you still eat Oreos every day, and you don't exercise, you not eating pizza is gonna do fuck all, right? So it's like, identify the habits and choices in your life that is contributing to anxiety, whether that's you obsessively researching your symptoms every day, whether it's you hanging out with toxic friends, whatever it is. Focus on the constraint, focus on the bottleneck, work to fix that first. Meditation, regulation tools, and exposure therapy comes hand in hand. That will help you do all of it. Like, the whole point of meditation is to increase self-awareness, to increase your awareness of the present moment, your actions, your choices, because once you can do that, you can make better choices and actions. And guess what happens when you make better choices and actions? Your anxiety starts disappearing because you start becoming a new person. Okay. Motivation. What do I do when I feel shortness of breath at school? So the first thing I would notice is move your breath down into your belly, right? If you're getting shortness of breath, there's a reason for that, right? So you're thinking too much and your breath moves into your chest and your neck, which is not the way to breathe. You want to breathe from your diaphragm. So the first thing I would do is do regulation tool. You can do one where you can move your eyes slowly to the left and to the right a couple times. That activates your central nervous system. It helps calm you down. And then move your breath into your belly and just notice a few belly breaths, right? And just notice it as it is. Notice the shortness of breath as it is. Don't try and improve it. Don't try and change it. Just notice it as it is. use your 802 and a bunch of numbers. Any tips on exposure therapy with people even close to me? I always feel like I'm putting on an act. So what I would suggest is, I'm assuming your exposure therapy. Okay, so I mean with your exposure therapy, do you mean like going out with people? Like that's the thing that makes you anxious? And if it is, I would start with like a baby step. Choose one person that you're close with just to hang out with as your exposure therapy. Do that consistently. Once you get comfortable with that, do 2, then 3, then 4. And then do things and then build yourself up. And then track when you're doing that, right? So another thing is like all your fears, define them, write them down. Like do your shadow work. Like, why does this bother me? Why do I have this belief? Like, okay, I think they'll judge me. Like, what will they judge you? And why are you afraid of being judged? Go deeper into yourself. Sam, I already explained that. Okay. Pink bow tie. I feel much better since the beginning of my journey, but I still struggle with anxious thoughts. So I'm glad that you feel better along your journey. So thoughts are not a problem, right? You're going to have thoughts every day of your life until you die, right? And that's okay. We're the only creature in the world that can think, right? We're the only species on the planet that has developed in our neurology where we can have conscious thought, okay? So with anxious thoughts, the best thing to do is just let them pass, right? Don't hold on to them. Don't try and define the story or explain it. Just let them pass. It's okay if you have anxious thoughts. It's okay if you have an intrusive thought. You clinging to it is a problem. And this is why where meditation comes in, because you learn to notice those thoughts. Key, how do I get better? So regulation tools, meditation, exposure therapy, and break your bad habits one by one and build good habits one by one. And do that consistently. That's it. Well, most people won't do it. That's it. Key, I just have intense DPTR. Seeing my little brother makes me feel like I will faint daily. So a couple of things that worsen DPTR. So avoid screens, avoid going on your phone, avoid doom scrolling, avoid playing video games, avoid binge watching TV shows. Try and get outside in nature. Try and take a cold shower. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Avoid weed because that can trigger it and make it worse. User, why have I got extreme chest pain with anxiety? So provided you got a health test and your body's okay, one of the reasons could be whenever you're anxious, you're not breathing properly, right? So you're breathing from your chest instead of your rib cage. And obviously that can cause tightness in your chest and so on. And your heart races as well. All right, my phone's at 3%, so I'm going to get the charger. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Okay, I'm back. All right. Virgo heart. Literally 4 months ago, I healed myself, but then I got vertigo, which made me fall back into panic attack. All right, so with vertigo, because my mother had it, and I had some sort of issues because I had tinnitus, which is kind of connected to vertigo because the same parts of the body is affected, like your vagus nerve, your suboccipital, the back of the neck, your ears. So what I would suggest is focus on your neck, right? Note, because if your neck is tense, you're not breathing properly, and problems with your suboccipital, tension there from stress, bad posture, that can all contribute to vertigo, right? It's one of the main reasons my mother had vertigo, because she had very bad posture. So focus on that, and then focus on everything else that you were doing that made you feel better in the first place. Just use this setback as a thing to, heal, like to make different choices. You don't have to see this, you don't have to see anxiety as a thing that's happened to you, that's ruined your life. You can see it as something that would make you better. Because if it wasn't for my anxiety, I never would have started posting content on TikTok and things like that. Okay. when I go to the gym and I see myself in the mirror, it sends me into a full-blown panic attack. Well, go into the gym and look at yourself dead in the eye and just practice doing that. The more you do it and the more you be like, okay, if I have a panic attack right now, that's fine. The more your nervous system is going to realize that it's okay. Use your 8027 and numbers. Do you think antidepressants are too normalized? Yes, and I also think anxiety medication is too normalized, but at the same time, it's not your guy's fault, because you go to the GP, you go to a doctor, and like after your first session, they'll be like, okay, do you want like antidepressants? Do you want like anxiety medications? Do you want propanol? Do you want sertraline? Like, it's so easy to get, right? It's so easy. And like, think of it, right? You take a pill, so you don't have to do any work. You don't have to go exercise. You don't have to do anything natural. You take a pill, and it kind of, like, for some people, I understand it can help them. And for the people that it does help, they usually mix it in with some sort of healthy habits. But a lot of people do it, and it either makes them worse, or it either makes them numb to everything, but they find that better than actually going on, like they find that better than dealing with the anxiety without the numbness. And then eventually the medication stops working and they're in a worse position than they started, because they didn't actually learn any natural ways to deal with their anxiety. I want to work out again, but I don't even recognize myself. Start, do one small thing, go for a 5-minute walk, go to the gym and do one exercise. Just start and then build yourself up. Okay. Okay. Amazing. Okay, I'm trying to find the questions. I know you guys are talking to each other. Okay, I'm gonna try to be quick with these questions, because there's a lot of questions that I need to answer. Okay. Why am I anxious before going to work? Don't question it. It doesn't matter. Let your body feel however it wants to feel. Just notice with mindfulness and do it anyway. Billy, but if all this is temporary, how do you cure it permanently? This isn't temporary. Like, maybe a regulation tool that you do and then you get out of fight or flight, and then 15 minutes later you don't have no awareness of your thoughts or your body, so you go back into fight or flight. In that sense, you might be like, oh, then it's temporary. But really, it's not temporary. Your practice to stay in the present moment, that's what's temporary, right? And you want to learn to be able to improve that. If you want to cure it permanently, right, understand that anxiety is normal. It's just a feeling. If you go to Olympians about to do their thing, do you think they're not anxious? They're definitely anxious, but their brain interprets it in a different way. Their brain interprets it, can't speak today, as excitement, right? Same symptoms of anxiety: racing heartbeat, rushing feeling, but they interpret it as excitement. So do your exposure therapy consistently, develop a consistent meditation practice, genuinely learn to integrate mindfulness to the rest of your day. Okay. Throat tongue anxiety, I hate it. So a lot of people do deal with throat closing up and tongue, same with me. So something I would do that helped me is I would imagine the base of my tongue dropping, right? And I would kind of just let my tongue relax. Another thing I would do is I would try and breathe from my nose. So when you hold your breath, your throat closes up. So when you kind of try and just notice the breath and the skin around your throat and let it soften, it can help that. Okay. Ravanzi, can you explain more about mindfulness? Yes. So to me, mindfulness isn't just about like sitting down and meditating or closing your eyes. To me, mindfulness is actually learning to be present, right? So when you're going about your day, moment to moment, second by second, you're actually present, right? So you're not lost in the anxious thoughts in your head or hyper focusing on symptoms and always fearing things. It's like you're present, like you're here, you're in your body, right? As you're eating, as you're talking, as you're walking, you're in your body. It's how your body knows you're safe. Because when you're disassociated from your experience, or you're constantly up here in your head and thoughts about your symptoms, your body's not going to be like, oh my God, we're safe. It's going to be like, oh my God, we're unsafe. Let's go into fight or flight. So it's just about being present in the actual moment you're in, right? Okay. Angel, I doubt myself, no self-confidence, so I don't believe, but I want to change my thinking. Good. Start by journaling your limiting beliefs first of all, and then choosing that action trumps thoughts, right? So even if you have thoughts like, oh, I'm fat, or I can never go to the gym, or I can never heal this anxiety, but if you take action by doing a regulation tool, playing that meditation, going on that walk, even with your thoughts, that's when you start actually changing your thinking, because action over thoughts, right? You don't wait to think yourself into action, you just do it. I feel like I'm starting to regulate my nervous system. Mornings are the worst, teacher. Yeah, sometimes mornings are the worst. For some people, mornings are okay, and then at nighttime it's worse. Try and do regulation tool right in the morning, and try and do something in the morning that relaxes your nervous system, like going on a walk, right? Key, how do you fix what? Okay. Angel, thank you for talking with us. You're welcome. So since Jazz and a few of you guys are talking about the tongue, so one of the things you'll notice when your nervous system is out of fight or flight is you produce saliva. Your mouth starts watering, right? So if you're constantly in fight or flight, the right sort of nutrients are not going to places like your tongue, right? Because your nervous system is in fight or flight. This is why sometimes people get dry mouth, people can't taste as well. Okay. Okay. Is it normal to feel so depressed and emotionally exhausted? Depends how hard you're pushing yourself, but if you're doing a baby step and you feel that exhausted, let it be there, right? If you're pushing yourself too hard, then yes. But isn't anxiety depressing? Isn't not doing your exposure therapy exhausting? You're going to be exhausted either way, so you might as well do something that's going to heal you. Hello, Miguel. All right. Kimmy, I sit outside first thing in the morning in my garden for 10 minutes. Does that help my nervous system? It does. That's amazing that you do that. Motivation, I feel shortness of breath every second of my day. Notice your breath all throughout the day. Do that with meditation. I learned to notice my breath as it is for years, right? Think of your breath like a companion. It's how you know you're in the present moment, right? It's happening 24/7 without you consciously doing it. It's like your heartbeat. It happens without you doing it. Angel, my neck is so bad. Yeah, probably from the improper breathing. Practice good posture, practice diaphragmatic breathing, practice PRI exercises, which is posture restoration exercises. Okay. How do you shift negative thoughts fast? So the first thing I would do is don't try to get rid of your negative thoughts, right? Just notice them, let them pass. Thoughts are like a wave, just let them pass. Sometimes they're crashing hard, sometimes they're crashing gentle. Whenever you think a negative thoughts, what some people do this thing is where they think of something they're grateful for, or they immediately think 3 positive thoughts afterwards. In my opinion, if you're mindful and your nervous system goes out of fight or flight, usually your thoughts reflect that. But even if you do have an anxious thought, every so often, it's fine. How to get rid of the rising physical symptoms, especially in public. Practice somatic tracking where you notice your symptoms with curiosity. Okay, this is the last question. I'm going to answer from Massimo. So how to deal with setbacks, please? So I got this question recently, actually, when somebody DM'd me on TikTok. So with setbacks, the setback is only bad if you stay in that rut, right? So if you're or you're struggling to find motivation, my suggestion would be notice all the things that you faced before and all the stuff that you've done, right? All the evidence of all the stages where you had a setback and you got through it. And then remind yourself of why, right? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to heal? Why do you want to move forward? For some people, it's for their kids. Some people, it's for their job. Some people, it's for their family. Most people, it's just for themselves, and they want to go about their day by doing by living their life out of fight or flight. And like, if that dream is worth to you, then you'll continue. Okay, Angel, thank you so much for helping us. I can't thank you enough. You guys are welcome, and I'm glad you guys are finding value for this. And thank you as well, Kimmy, and thank you as well, Massimo. And all of you guys that joined and asked questions. I will be going live same time next week. So hope to see you guys there, and take care. Okay, bye-bye.